Finally, in this section, we want to talk about solving formulas. Now, most of you are probably have some experience with solving equations. Solving an equation, you're given some equation and you need to find the value of some variable, let's say x, that makes the left side of the equation equal to the right side of the equation. This is kind of similar. Solving formulas, what they mean is you're given some formula like the ones that we had like the geometry formulas we had, right, in this section. And you're not given values for any of the numbers, but you're asked to solve for one of the variables. So you say you're writing that variable in terms of the other variables. You don't really use that in the text for this, but that's the way we say it in mathematics. So I'll do an example, of course, to show you what I mean. But you have to know what they're asking for. If they say solve the formula for x, they mean they want x equals, and then all the other variables are on the right. They don't mean plug in all the numbers. In fact, very often they'll give you instructions like solve the formula for a without putting in the values for the other variables. And almost invariably, students will plug in all the numbers, even though they were just told not to. They'll plug in all the numbers first because they're going on instinct. They're not really thinking about what they were asked. And then what it'll do is on the second part of the problem, which is usually the next page, then it'll ask them to plug in all the numbers. So pay close attention to the instructions and make sure you're actually doing what they say. If you're doing something other than what they say because you're just acting on instinct, it's not that there's something wrong with the program or something. You're doing it wrong. You're not following instructions. So this is a good practice, following instructions, because we do tend to kind of jump in and just start doing stuff. You know, you want to get to, quote, the answer. Okay, but make sure you know what answer they're asking for first. So here's my example. Solve the formula y equals x plus t over 2 for t. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would cross multiply the 2. In other words, you're multiplying both sides of the equation by 2, right? Same thing, cross multiply by 2. You get 2y equals x plus t. And then if I'm trying to solve for t, so I want to get the x away on the other side of the equation. So if I move a term to the other side of the equation, it becomes the opposite sign. So it's going to be 2y minus x equals t. You can think of it as subtracting x from both sides if you want. It's the same thing. Okay? And then usually we have this kind of perverse thing of having to have the thing you solve for, t in this case, be on the left and everything else on the right. So I just flipped it around because it's hard for me not to. But the first one there, 2y minus x equals t, would be correct as well. You'd be marked correct for that. So I'm just explaining why I flipped it. It's just habit. It's kind of a good habit, to be honest. Okay, that's it for that section.